Michail, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
What is high performance?
What is high performance? I think anything where you're working at the top of any type of game or in life. As long as you're working at the top, then you're working in the high performances.
So in the years that you've spent in football, getting all the way up to the Premier League where you operate now, what's the biggest thing you've learned about finding your own version of high performance, delivering at your own very best level consistently?
For me, is the self-belief. For me, it's knowing how good you are, because whenever you're working at the top, there's so much people around you are always going to have opinions and having opinions on you and things that you do. But as long as you have the self-belief and know that you're doing things right and know when you're not doing things right, then your world's an oyster.
Resilience is such a big thing in football. You know, we're having this conversation a few days before the end of the season. You know that your manager is leaving with just a couple games left. Who knows what your future holds? There seems to be a constant conversation in the media about the future for Michail Antonio. So how do you learn to deal with uncertainty? Like, does it sit easy with you?
I think it's something that's been part of my life for my whole life. Obviously, growing up, I never went to an academy. I didn't have much funds growing up either. So it's just having to deal. When I was going to school, I went to school in not the best areas. There was loads of gang violence and stuff like that. And there were people getting stabbed and stuff around. I didn't know if I was going to get into a fight or someone was going to try and rob me. So my whole entire life has always been uncertain whether I constantly had my head on a swivel. So I feel like that has prepared me for football. Just constantly got my head on the swivel, constantly need to know what the next best thing and constantly need to know what I need to do.
Is that not exhausting?
100%. What I find crazy is in my career, I've had such a great career. I've made a good living for myself. But I always go back to them times thinking, I don't want to go back there. And that drives me and that keeps pushing me to keep going. Whereas I'm 34 now, and most people be like, you'll be on a decline. But people are starting to notice that in my older years, I'm probably, if not getting better, I just keep going because I just want to keep pushing myself and making myself better.
So when you say your head's on a swivel, what are you looking at and what are you looking for?
When my head's on the swivel, it's just constantly wanting to make myself better, constantly wanting to be valued, constantly trying to set new targets and want to reach them. I feel the time you stop setting yourself targets, it's the time you go on a decline. But then you also need to know when it's time to stop. Like, it's better to stop when your body's working than when your body's shut down and everyone's noticed that you're just scrambling.
So let's talk about your mindset right now, where you're at. I mean, if I think of any player in the Premier League who's had the most speculation about their future the last few years, it feels like it's you. Like, how close have you come to leaving West Ham?
Very close. I think at least 3-4 years. What people don't really realise, I've been at West Ham now for 9 years. And every single summer, I've been linked to be moved away. The first time when I signed for West Ham, I didn't play for 3 months. The January came up, I could have left on loan and gone back to the Championship. I chose not to because I wanted to stamp myself down in the Premier League and believed I could do it. Then that summer came, I had a good stint playing right back. I had links from top 6 clubs to play right back. I didn't want to play right back, so I refused to do that. I wanted to be a winger. Then I started the season at right back.
But in a top 6 club, like, are we talking the big names?
I'm talking top 6, definitely top 6. But it was right back, and I believed I was good enough to be an attacking player in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I didn't want to play right back. Maybe I might have been financially better, but I wouldn't have been enjoying my football. And I think in life, I feel you need to enjoy what you're doing instead of just chasing the money.
And after that, the summer after that,
I managed to get right wing. I was playing right wing, and I was linked away, but that was to a foreign club. Summer after that, my agent is angry at me because he told me to sign a 2-year deal. Had an unbelievable season playing right wing, and then a top 6 club came for me again as a right winger. I'm not too sure if we're about to say names, so that's why I'm not
think
going
you
to
can,
say.
yeah, I don't think it's a problem.
My agent, he's like, just don't save that stuff. He's like, save that stuff.
Is that right?
Yeah, so...
Save that stuff for your autobiography. That's what he means.
So another top six club came in for me at right wing, but I got injured. I tore my hamstring. So that one fell through. And just from there, I've always had to like fight for my place. New managers came in. Then they wasn't too sure about me because I know it. I can say it myself. I'm not the prettiest player. I'm not technically the best. So it's either I'm Marmite. It's either you love me or you hate me. But then I'm the top goal scorer at the club. I'm second place when it comes to assists at the club. I've got so many accolades at the club. People can call me a donkey all day, but I get the job done. So I've just constantly been so unsure with everything that's going on that it's just, that's why when I say keep your head on the swivel, that's why I constantly have to do it, because I always feel that if I don't perform, I might not have that next opportunity for the next team to come and get me, and then I might be working my way down.
Will you explain for those of us not in the world of football then, how when you hear speculation that a Big Six team is in for you, how does that happen? How do you know whether that's a genuine inquiry or whether it's just newspaper talk?
So I have an agent, and my agent's like a brother to me. I used to play with him. The craziest thing is I used to play with him when I was younger at Tottenham Trial. So he'll get a phone call from a club saying that we're interested. Then my agent will speak to West Ham and see whether they want to do it or not. And then sometimes he tells me and sometimes he doesn't, because it's not, he doesn't want to distract me from my football, or unless he feels that it's something that will drive me, then he will tell me.
And in all of those close calls, was there ever a time where West Ham either accepted a bid or said to you, yeah, you can go?
No. What is quite crazy about West Ham is, what I find quite crazy is most of the summers they've gone to me, you're not for sale. And then there was a couple summers where like, you can leave. And then we get a club interested and they'll be like, no, we ain't selling you. you ain't going. Like last summer was the closest I've ever came to leaving.
How close?
Had someone there willing to pay over the odds than what the club's asked for. But then obviously I started the season on the high, and then they just literally pulled it away from me.
Hey guys, do you want $350 off the latest generation 8 Sleep Pod 4 Ultra? It's a pod added to your existing mattress, proven to give you up to 1 hour more quality sleep every night. It's used by sports people, it's used by titans of industry, it's even used by me. And there's nothing else like it on the market. It heats, it cools, it adjusts, and it uses sensors to track your sleep with 99% tracking accuracy. Sleeping on the pod for just 1 week can improve your cardiovascular health as much as 12 weeks of strength training. So to get $350 off the latest generation 8 Sleep Pod 4 Ultra, just go to 8sleep.com/HPP. That's 8sleep.com/HPP.
And honestly, I love being at the club, so I'm not disappointed. But like it was a crazy one because they said I can go. So I got my head around it that I'm leaving. Started the season on the high because like, you know what, I need to show these people, because obviously the club gonna get rid of me. They want to go young. They want a new fresh striker in. So I was like, I need to show people so I can get these bids in, get someone to come collect me. Obviously, start the season, 2 good goals, some good performances. And obviously, because I'm doing that for the club gone, why would I sell you? And they kept me.
So how do you balance then the idea of being relatively selfish and putting your own interest first with the idea of still being a team player, of having to do the hard yards and contribute to the teammates? Like, how does that process work for you?
That's football. Football is 11 individuals just trying to become one team. But you are the individual on that pitch. You need to concentrate on yourself and your performance while working for your team. Football is a very selfish sport, whereas you care about you care about your stats, you care about everything that you're doing. But in the back of your mind, you know you're working for the team. You know you're working for your teammates. But in the back of your mind again, it's reaching your goals, because end of the day, as long as you're performing well, then you're doing well for yourself and you're going to be doing well for your family.
Yeah. So, but as a striker then, can I just explore that topic in more detail? That, like, people listening to this, like myself, would go, so if you're in a position where you can maybe take a shot yourself and your odds of scoring are 30%, but you could square it to somebody else that might be in competition for a role. How do you overcome that selfish urge to still put the team above your own interest?
To be honest, you see it every now and then on the pitch. There's times where players take the shot because it's about them getting the goals, because goals are the stats and goals are the most important thing in football. And then people like assists, like Kevin De Bruyne, but then assists are just not that important as goals. So in that situation, it's all down to how important you are and you believe in the team, because it's about getting that stage higher, getting those 3 points. And to be fair, honest, majority of the time, people care about the 3 points. People care about the team more than themselves. You might be working for yourself, but as a team, you want to get as high as possible in the league. And that's the ultimate goal. And to be honest, if you think about it, the higher you go in the league, the bigger the bonuses you get. So you are helping yourself anyway.
So you said that, West Ham say we want to bring in a new, young, fresh striker, right? Do they actually have that conversation with you and say, like, we're going to go for someone else? Or do you just find out when we find out, when it's in the papers, or they turn up at the training ground?
No, to be honest, you can feel the vibe. No one comes to you and go, we're going to go young. But you can feel it. As you get older, you can see that they're kind of edging, you can feel that they're kind of edging you out type thing. And then you see that they're getting linked to more and more strikers, and you see that they're getting younger, a different style of play. Then you see the type of players that are coming in. Whereas, is it how you play, or is it different? It's all about the different philosophies, because every manager's coming to play completely different. Pellegrini is completely different to David Moyes. Bilić was completely different to Pellegrini. So it's all on their philosophies and whether I fit into it.
So there's so much then swimming around in the mind of a footballer when they say, just concentrate on the game, or when they criticise someone for being off form or missing a chance. There's so much going on in a footballer's head that we don't see or understand, I think.
100%. And the best time a player can play is when they're free. It's when they don't actually have to think about what they're doing on the field. It's when they just their brain just naturally takes over and they're not making any decisions on themselves. They're just on the automatic. And when a player starts thinking, that's when you see a lot of mistakes are made and things are forced, because your body's not free. You're not relaxed. You're quite tense. And that's how it messes up. So when people are going through stuff outside of football and there's other things on their mind, that's when people are probably struggling the most.
And have you worked out then how you can create that sense of freedom? What are the kind of things that you do?
To be honest, it's difficult, because every player has struggled with that situation where things are happening outside, where you are, you can't get away from. Doesn't matter the situation, but it's just having that fuck it mentality. Just push it to a side, bury it deep until afterwards, after the game, then you can deal with it. But obviously, we're only human, so you can't always do that.
So with total honesty then, which is what this show is about, when was the last time you feel you played with real, true freedom?
Real, true freedom. I would say when I was at Nottingham Forest. And then I'll say when I got back from my injury, when I got back from my injury 3 months ago, that's when I played with true freedom. Before that, I was struggling with certain things where, like, obviously I played from 2020 all the way through with no injuries, with hardly getting any time off because of COVID. So we kept playing the catch-up game. Obviously, I've been playing football for now 15, 16 years. And it kind of got a bit repetitive for me. So I wouldn't say I fell out of love with it, but it just kind of got a bit on me. And I just started disliking the game. And I was out there. And it was one of the situations where you just kind of just needed to step away. But because football's just constant, you're constantly just in it. And there's no way you step out. And then when you step away from it, there's people talking about it. And then it's in your life 24/7.
So explain then what you were not liking, because, my boy is outside as often as he can, kicking a football, just dreams of being a professional footballer, as do millions of other young girls and boys. So what is it like then, that feeling when you think, I just don't love it, or I've fallen out of love with it?
It's literally, as soon as you start getting paid for it, as soon as your life depends on it, as soon as you have people constantly berating you and criticizing you, it becomes a job. So it doesn't matter how good it is. It doesn't matter how much you love the game. It becomes an actual job for you.
And when did you realise that you were starting to fall out of love with it? Was there a certain moment when that awareness dawned on you?
It was, I could tell you the exact moment. It was December 22, where literally I played, who did we play? I can't remember the game, but just in December 23, where I played the game. I think we even won the game, but I didn't have the best of games. And I was just like to myself, I'm not enjoying football. Like, I'm just...
During the game?
During the game. I was like, I'm really not enjoying this. I just felt quite negative, which I'm a very positive person myself. So I felt quite negative towards it and stuff, but I was trying to shrug it off and I couldn't. And then I finished the game, and next thing I don't do is I never go on Twitter after a game. I never go on Instagram after a game. I normally just step away from it, especially if I had a bad game. But I saw myself, I was like, I need to go on it. I went on it, I just saw loads of negative comments like, he's done, he needs to finish, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I actually thought to myself, maybe I should. And then I was like, nah, pull yourself out. I'll keep going, I'll keep trying. I didn't score from December until I think it was March, April times. And I just felt like run down. Before I got injured, I had a bad game. And I can't remember who it was. And then I went with Jamaica because I was enjoying football with Jamaica for some strange reason. But I actually prayed for an injury. I was like, I just want to get injured. I want to be injured. I want some time off. I don't know how long I want, but I want time off away from football. And then I went with Jamaica and I did my medial.
That almost sounds like a challenge with your mental health, really.
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously it's all inside my own head. Yeah. I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to work it out. Obviously, best football you play is when you're free. And when you're free mentally is when you're free.
And when we talk about people's mental health, often it's just linked to depression. Oh, that's a mental health challenge. But there's so much else when we talk about elite sport and mental health that is going on there. And it's obvious that there was all kinds of things swirling around in your head. I mean, I listened to it. It sounds like it was quite a scary time.
Oh, 100%. Because I was thinking to myself, I'm 33. I can't afford to be performing this way. Otherwise, I'm not going to get another contract. If I don't do it here and I keep performing like this, where am I going to go next? And I'm be on my downward spiral. It's just the end for me. It's just my football career.
Who could you talk to?
I started therapy. In that period, I started therapy because I was really struggling. And how I grew up, it was never a thing. I thought therapy for crazy people, therapy for people who can't control themselves and stuff like that. But therapy changed my life. Like,
tell us about that.
It was, at first it's awkward. I'm not going to lie. Literally, you sat in the room, someone's there and goes, how are you? And your natural response is,
fine.
I'm all right. And he's like,
end of the session.
So he's like, so why are you here? Like, what's getting you down? I was like, to be honest, like, football, I'm struggling with football. I split up with my missus. And these are the things where it was really, I was struggling and I couldn't focus. Whereas my football was always my getaway from anything that happened in my life. My dad died and stuff like that. I went to football and I could black it out for the 2 hours that I was there or the 4 hours that I was there. And on the football pitch, I could black it out because that stuff. But then my life was a bit turned upside down because obviously I'm split up my missus, my wife. And then I've also not performing on the pitch and things are just not going well for me. So I was just really struggling. And then I sat there and I spoke to him. And then I'm a person where I'd never cry. And as I was talking to him, I just burst into tears. It was uncontrollable. And I'm not going to lie, that gave me some type of relief because I normally hold everything in and push it down. And that gave me some real nice relief where I was like, oh, and then like my chest felt like clear. And I just done sessions once a week, every week, just speaking to him, trying to get everything off my chest.
So can you, again, without breaching confidences, can you give us an insight into some of the lessons that they help you unlock that brought you out of that funk?
What is crazy is I always portrayed to be a very confident person, always portrayed to be a person that was always got things right. But then what they've taught me was that I was a person that's basically always set myself targets, always looking for missions because I always need something to be done. I always need to be concentrating on something. I can't relax within myself. I always need to be busy. And I don't want everyone to relax myself because when I'm on my own and when I am relaxing myself, she said that I basically didn't like me because growing up, there was a lot of traumas that I dealt with. So I avoid sitting within myself. And that's one thing that I learned via therapy because it was true. I constantly kept myself busy. And whenever I didn't keep myself busy because I was living under my own, I hated it. I got bored. I was itchy. I was messaging people going, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let's go somewhere. Let's go for some food. Let's do something. So I'm searching for people to do something with me. I never could just sit at home. And it was because it said something about my self-esteem. I'm searching for something and there was something missing in my chest and my heart. And just to hear that set me off. Like I was in tears again.
It's a hard thing to hear though, isn't it?
Massive. Like I always believed I was the happiest person there is. Like you saw that in my personality, you could see how I am everywhere. So I thought, that ain't me. But as soon as she was saying it to me, I saw it. Like there were certain things that happened in my childhood, whereas let's just say I struggled to make friendships when I was in primary school. When I was playing football, I was always confident when I was playing football. Like no one could ever touch me. But when it came to friendships, I always had people, but I was never really tight with anybody. There was no one that I would say was my best friend until I was like 12. And then that person kind of left. So I always struggled to have that one bond other than my brother, who was my brother in the day. So that's brotherly love. And there was other times when I was 14, I thought these people were my friends. We went to school with them. I left my house. I left from school. I went to Tottenham with them. These guys ended up stealing a bike. I thought these people were my friends. I went to school the next day. The people got caught with the bikes because obviously we were wearing the school uniforms. And they grouped up and said, say Michail did it. And I've been friends with them for 3 years, going to school every day with them. So I was like, I just made me mistrust people. So I just became a person where I was just dealing with things and just like, you know what, when anything happens, I push it down. I don't deal with it. I push it down. I don't deal with it.
But there was a really, like your phrase that we come back to, this, your head on a swivel, alerted me because that sounds like somebody in a state of hypervigilance all the time. Where's the threat? Where's the danger that you're constantly looking for? And that eventually causes burnout, that causes distress because your ability to just be comfortable sitting still is almost impossible when you're in hypervigilance, and then you've gone into a world that demands hypervigilance because your manager's changing or somebody's criticising you.
100%. And that's another thing that a therapist said to me. He was like, in school, the playground behaviour of kids, whereas something happens, it spreads around. Something happens, it spreads around. But then as you get older, in most people, most adults, it stops because you go into work and it doesn't really matter. But when you are in football, that playground behavior still goes on. It's the exact same thing as when you're in school, as when you're grown men.
We've had a really amazing conversation about mental health and therapy. What would you say to someone that's listened to this conversation? They're contemplating therapy, but they're scared.
I think it'd be the best thing that you would ever do in your life. I feel it's a life changer. And I don't feel it's something that you should do just because you're down. I think it's something you should do in life. Like, it helps you just shape, it helps you concentrate, and it helps you just line things up. So even if things are going well for you in life, I think it just helps you line things up.
What was the biggest thing that your therapist said that turned the lights on for you?
Big thing my therapist said turn the lights on for me is my boundaries are too low. That I need to raise my boundaries. I keep allowing people in and allowing people to step across my boundaries so easily. And that's a part of me giving too much away. And from that, it has shaped me. It has made me more resilient. It has made me more like concentrate more and just be going like, no, because I'm so used to saying yes. So when I was saying I'm resilient, I'm talking about resilience as in people, I don't allow people to get me down.
Have you spoken about the therapy stuff often or not?
No, so obviously therapy's only just been quite new to me.
He's still going to?
Still going now, yeah.
Good.
So therapy's quite new to me over the last, so I said it was 2022, December.
Yeah, so what, the December just gone?
So not this one, the one before.
So you've now been about a year and a half.
In therapy, yeah.
And do you think you'll carry on forever?
I don't think I'll carry on forever because my therapist said that they always want to get to a stage where you no longer need them.
Yeah. What was the moment where you thought, I can't deal with this on my own anymore?
It was just literally, my mind was just constantly racing, just thinking about what's going on in my football, thinking about what's going outside it. And I just started to feel like I was just in a daze, just living the life and everything just in the daze. So it kind of just got to say to like, nah. And then everyone I spoke to always had their opinion, whereas it wasn't, and their opinion wasn't really helpful because if I speak to someone who's my friend, they are going to be on my side. If I speak to someone else, they're going to just be like having their opinion on what's going on in their lives and try and shape it to that I should do something that they do.
Everyone feels they should offer you advice.
Yeah.
And actually all you need is someone to listen.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
We interviewed a guy recently called Charles Duhigg, who he wrote a book about communication. And he said a great way to start any conversation with anyone is ask them the 3 H's. Do you want to be heard? Do you want help? Or do you just want a hug? And when you start thinking of it, often people get their roles mixed up, don't they? That they think they're trying to help when actually you just want to listen.
100%.
Yeah.
And literally, since I've been doing therapy, when people come to me now, because people speak to me, and I'm like, do you want me to give you advice? Do you want me just to listen? Or do you just want to rant? And literally, they'll be like, but when I did it to someone the first time, they're like, that's a fucking great question. They actually went to me, that's a fucking great question. Like, where the fuck did you get that from? And I'm like, oh, therapy. Because literally, I don't want to just put, because everything I'm going to say to you is something that's happened in my life and I'm going to portray it on you. And that's my opinion. And sometimes my opinions shouldn't help you, shouldn't be put on you because you're different to me. And how you're going to do it, might be something completely different to what I want to do.
You know, I remember I did therapy a long time ago, about 20 years ago. And that question, when they sit down and they say, why have you come to see me? And you start talking and then you get this thing going, I'm going to cry.
Mate, and you're like this.
And you're trying to,
yeah.
And then as you keep talking, then eventually you stop and cry.
Yeah.
And then you don't stop crying.
Yeah. Mate, it's ridiculous. Like,
you know what though? The feeling of freedom after.
Mate, it just releases you. It releases everything. Like, your heart just feels locked up like a stone. And then as soon as you cry, just like, just release this unbelievable.
And then you can't believe you were living like you were living. You're like, why was it?
Mate, it's unbelievable.
And what was it about your dad that unlocked it for you? Or
Nah, it was just literally going through the divorce and my football. Like, obviously, my missus was a massive part of my life during my whole career. And just going through that and just all that stuff, it just messed with me massively.
Before therapy, would you have been able to have this kind of conversation?
Before therapy, I would have had this conversation, but I wouldn't have been as open. Like, I honestly believe that there was one time that I always opened up about when I was almost went into depression. And this was one situation where I was playing under Pellegrini. 1 week I'll be starting. The next week I won't even be in the squad. The week after I'll be starting again. The next week I wasn't in the squad again. So it didn't matter how I performed, it just kept rotating it, and I just couldn't understand it in my own mind, and it kind of set me under. Whereas now I can have the conversation with you where I can explain to you the reason behind I need therapy, the reason behind what was actually going on in my life. Whereas before I'd be like, I don't know, like, this just happened.
And how good is it to be able to talk like this?
No, it's unbelievable. Like, to have the clarity to actually understand the problems in your life, to actually understand that these things that happened years ago is actually still having an effect on my life in the present day, which blew my mind.
Hey, I just wanted to dive in and say we're so proud to be working with Manual on today's episode. And I'm so pleased to be joined by Manual's testosterone replacement therapy doctor, Dr. Manny. So what's going on when it comes to men and testosterone?
About 1 in 4 men have low testosterone or are experiencing symptoms of low testosterone. Low sex drive, erectile dysfunction, low energy levels, low mood or anxiety.
And how important is it, you think, if someone thinks they might have a problem, for them to get in touch?
The simple thing to do is one of the finger prick blood tests that you do at home. You send it back to us. We can then find out if you have actual low testosterone on blood tests.
What does treatment look like?
Treatment can either be with injections or with creams or gels that you put onto the skin. So those are the ways that we can replace testosterone.
If you would like to know more, or maybe you're thinking that maybe you might have low testosterone, then all you need to do is hit the link in the description to this show and use the code HP45 for 45% off your first at-home testosterone blood test.
Now, there'll be people listening to this as football fans, though, that maybe labour under the misapprehension that the best teams are like a band of brothers. They are people that have each other's back and have that friendship. And when they're hearing that we're acquaintances, not friends, can you tell us when you've been part of an environment where you feel it goes a bit deeper than just being acquaintances?
To be honest, as soon as you step on that field, it doesn't matter if we're acquaintances, if we're family, if we're anything, because missuses or anything out there, we are one. We are fighting. You can see if one person runs up and one person's getting into a little squabble, the whole team's around, because end of the day, we're all out there for one thing and we're all there to back each other to get that one thing, and that's the 3 points. We've been with each other every single day. We see each other more than we see our families. So we are going to ride for each other. We are going to be out there and die for each other.
But then when you mention that example of Pellegrini, where it sounds like you drop 1 week, then you're in the team, then you're not in again. Like, have you had a coach that really invests time in creating that environment where everybody does feel part of it, does feel committed?
To be fair, the gaffer, David Moyes, he's done a couple of things where he's taken us out, made us go to the theatre together. He brought us to Miami to have a team bonding time. Another manager who's done that, Brendan Rodgers, at least once a month or once every other month, he used to make us do go-karting and stuff like that. So we do these things. Like, I play paddle with Vlad, Thomas, Maxi, Alphonse, every now and then. So we have these relationships. I've met so many footballers in my life where I was close to them while we were at the club, but then as soon as they've left, we've basically not spoken. Where friendships is a bond that lasts forever, I feel acquaintances is something is a part in time.
It's so interesting you say this, because I remember when I first started working with the players in my former job as a football host, I was like, who are you still mates with from your playing days? And every single one of them's like, got a couple of mates, but that's about it. There isn't this there isn't this great group that, I think the only one I'd say is that Rio Ferdinand still has the group of Manchester United players from that incredible period under Sir Alex Ferguson still in a WhatsApp group. But I think that's about the only example I can think of. And even when I leave BT Sport last season, you literally don't hear from them. And part of you gets offended, and then you speak to I think, oh, that's football. It's a strange mentality, isn't it?
100%.
Because you also do incredible things together. Like I think of, delivering this European trophy for West Ham. That is a memory that you and those teammates of yours will have forever. And I know for a fact that in 20, 30 years' time, you'll all be going back to the stadium for dinners and celebrations for winning that European trophy. Can we talk about how incredible that felt?
Do you know what's crazy about that is I was probably in one of my worst times in my life then. One of the worst times, obviously, I was going through my divorce and stuff. And I honestly couldn't get my head around it. It wasn't until probably December this year where I was like, when I was in a better place where I was like, oh my God, I've won a European Championship. Literally, after we won, the whole team went out, the gaffer went out, got steaming. A couple of boys didn't sleep for 2 days, just got drunk for 2 days. I was asleep on the coach and went back to the hotel.
The night that you won the trophy?
The night we won the trophy. So we were on the coach on the way back. I was asleep on the coach. I was just mentally drained because of everything that was going on outside of my football. And then I went back to the hotel and went to sleep while everyone was out partying.
Seems such a shame.
Like, honestly, it was crazy because I'm a party animal. Like, if you know me, I love a night out, I love a drink, party animal. And I thought after the game that would have been me. But by the time we literally partied in the changing rooms and we left and got on the coach, I was just so drained, I fell asleep.
So what was the overriding emotion then?
The overriding emotion, it was just literally, the game was over, my adrenaline shut down, and then I was like, I'm back in the shit, basically. I'm back in actually life. And it just hit me on the coach, and I was just like, I'm going home. I'm going to bed.
It's amazing. I think the thing that I think about when you talk about the truth behind being a footballer, which is what this is really about, is the criticism that gets thrown the way of footballers. If they're not performing, they get incredible criticism. Yet no one knows what's going on behind the scenes, the things that you're telling us now, the divorce, the mental health challenges, the therapy, praying to be injured, wanting time away from the game. What is that seemingly constant stream of criticism like as a footballer?
To be fair, it kind of just, as time goes by, you kind of see it's just part of the parcel. Like, literally, there's going to be comments. No matter how you play, if you play well, you play bad, there's going to be a negative comment out there. So you kind of get used to it. There was one guy on my Twitter when I signed for West Ham, no matter how I play, even when I scored 4 goals, he said to me, he always said after every game, you're a donkey. And he just constantly said it to me. And to be fair, it never got to me. I always found it, I was like, what a guy. Like, the commitment you have to send a message every week, I was just like, it's like probably had the problem. But like, it's just a game. Everyone has an opinion. One thing with football is crazy compared to every other sport is everyone wants to have their say, no matter what. And the most negative things are the ones that ring everywhere. Everyone wants to be negative in football. Whereas, I won't even say football, I say probably England. Whereas when you go into Spain, when you go to Germany, when you go to Italy, they try and spin things more positively. Whereas in England, they want anything where it could be spin in a bad way. That's the stuff that's going to go out. That's the stuff that's going to get the press. That's the stuff that's going to make you get more jobs. The negativity sells here, whereas anywhere else, it's the positive stuff that gets
So
put
what do you
out.
think we could do then? And I'll ask that from the position as a host of this show, but also as someone that used to stand there hosting football shows, asking the kinds of questions that at times would be about dropping players, sacking managers, questioning refereeing decisions. I'm well aware that I played that game. What could we do to bring a more positive agenda to the UK and to football?
Honestly, I couldn't even give you the answer.
Do you think conversations like this are helpful?
I do. Like, obviously, people are now starting to understand that we are humans, not robots. People are realizing that as time's going by with the mental health issues, and people are speaking out more that they are struggling. But honestly, I feel like football is something that people escape to. So there's something that the fans escape to. Like, you see it where you see fans in the stands, which I find quite crazy, is like they're normal people when they go to the jobs and on a Monday to Friday. And then when they go into the stands, they completely change and they forget who they are. Like, let's talk about a couple of the people who've been caught throwing racist abuse at people. And then they get caught, and then you find that they are like high businessmen in their jobs, and their friends are like, they're like, I never saw that of him. I never experienced that of him. And some of them even had people who are black like around them, and they've never experienced, they were cool and everything like that. But they kind of forget who you are, and you just are in the moment, and you just start blurting things out. Obviously, I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying that it's something that they feel because they forget who they are. It's just people go there for an escape, and then they do it. And I feel like it's part and parcel of the game. I don't think it will ever change.
Really? I mean, the first principle of any discrimination is to dehumanize somebody, so that I don't see you as human.
Yeah.
So if I don't see you as human, I can say what I want to you almost, and that's what you're describing. I'm interested though in, how do you discern whose opinion matters to you versus the noise of the rest that is irrelevant? Who gets in your inner circle, and what is it they have to prove to you that their opinion is worth listening to?
I don't listen to my family who comes to football. My family have no understanding of football in any way, shape or form. I've been playing football for 16 years. My brother is my best friend. Yeah. And he will still call me on a Friday night going, let's go out tonight. And I have a game on the Saturday.
Brilliant.
Only because he knows that some people would go out.
So he actually has no clue about football.
Isn't that nice
all.
in some ways though?
I love it. My family, obviously I'm the youngest, so I'll go to my mum's house and my sisters and brothers will be like, oh, go make us a cup of tea. Like, and I'll be like, no. And they're like, you're the baby, go make the tea. Literally, they never treat me like a footballer. Like, when I was playing, they never came watch me play. My brother's probably been to 10 games in my entire career. Like, my family are not interested in football in any way, shape or form. So when I go home, it's just unbelievable. They never treat me like Michail Antonio. They just treat me as their little brother.
And how important were your family when your career was forged? I believe that your mum prevented you from going on a trial, right?
Yeah, so I was going on a trial to Spurs when I was 14. But obviously, I live in South London, Spurs in North London. When she found out that I'd be getting home between 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I'll have school the next day every night, she was like, nah, not a chance. Like, education is more important than football because you can't guarantee you're going to make it. But she was also the person that was always buying my boots, making sure I had the opportunity to go play football. And I thought my life was over because it's my first opportunity to actually get an opportunity to get into an academy. I was like, football's done, I'm finished. But I feel like it's probably the best thing that she probably did for me because it gave me that resilience. It gave me the opportunity to be a child as well, because all these boys that are in academies they've been living this footballer's life from the age of 11, 12. And I'm not going to lie, it is exhausting. Like, my son now, he's at City Selects, and literally he's training 2 times a week, and then he's training with his school team, and then he's training or the Roots team. He's training like 4 or 5 times a week. And there's times where he was like, I want to go for a sleepover. And my ex would be like, but you've got football in the morning, so you might have to stay in this one. And he's missing out on opportunities where when I was younger, I was out with my mates. I was doing all the things that I could do And it wasn't until I turned 18, which is technically a grown man now, where I got signed, and then I had to buckle down. And I got to enjoy my childhood, and now I got to enjoy my adulthood as a footballer.
So when you look at these kids that have been in academies, what do you feel that they had that you don't, but equally, what do you have that they don't?
I have a hard shell. That's one thing that I've learned that I've done, because I constantly got the no's. And when I got my no's, it made me go harder. And I constantly just wanted to constantly push myself. When someone said no to me, I go, I'll prove you wrong. When someone next person said no to me, okay, I'll prove you wrong. And that's what I'm keep doing now, because every time a manager's come in and gone, you're not my cup of tea, I was like, well, you're going to play me. In my head, I'm like, you're going to play me. And every manager that's come in has eventually played me. And I think that's one of my biggest achievements that I've had in my career, is the fact that every single person that has come in and they've put me to a side at the beginning, by the end of the season, I'm either, if I'm not number one on the list, I'm number 4, and I'll be playing week in, week out.
And you feel that was forged from coming up through park football and playing in non-league?
100%, because I'm so used to being pushed aside. I'm so used to people telling me no, and that I had to prove to them how good I am. I had to prove to them that I can get the job done. And that's given me that resilience that I need in my career.
Tell us the emotion of the day you played in the Premier League for the first time and how that felt.
To be honest, I'm a very laid back person, so
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous or anything. I was quite chilled, and especially with the last 10 minutes at the Etihad, I knew I wasn't going to get much of the ball. So I kind of went on left wing, but basically played left back. And then after that, I didn't touch the field for 3 months. So I don't know what I did in the last 10 minutes, but but Simon Bilić wasn't feeling it. And then all the right backs got injured. And then I ended up playing right back. And that's when I was nervous, because my whole entire life, I was an attacking player. Or I played left, right, or up front. I've never been a defensive player in my life. So coming on at right back to start a game right back in the Premier League, when I've never played in the Premier League really, I was just like nervous.
So when did you find out you were going to be playing at right back?
In the week, because he started training me to play there, because all the right backs got injured and there was no one else could play.
So take us to, you go home, you sort of sat on your own. What are you saying to yourself that gives you that confidence that you can go and do it on Saturday?
I always believe in myself. I always say, look, it's an opportunity to play in the Premier League. You're getting an opportunity to start in the Premier League. Just go out and show what you can do. It's, as long as you have the shirt, it's an opportunity to show your abilities on the pitch.
How do you feel when you don't feel you've had a fair opportunity, though, to show yourself? I'm thinking of England as a really good example here.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
I feel like if they gave me the opportunity, I would have impressed. But then it's still, for me, it's just down to like, it's opinions again. Like, I feel like someone should always get the opportunity. And if they don't get the opportunity, if they don't do it at the first try, then it's okay to go, you know what, get moved to a side. But to not actually get the opportunity at all, it's very frustrating for me.
And when you had that call up to England into the squad but didn't play, like, do you go, I don't know, it was under Sam Allardyce, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did you go and speak to him and go, give me a chance, give me a shot? Or...
No, to be fair, because he got sacked straight after that, or he resigned straight afterwards.
Yeah.
But to be fair, he came to me straight after the game, and he was like, I wanted to put you on. He's like, I wanted to put you on, but because it was my first game, I needed to go with experience. And that's what he actually said to me. And I respected him fully for that, because I knew he really liked me as a player, and I felt like I was so close. And I got called up 2 more times under Gareth Southgate, but obviously both times I never got on the field again. And then I got called up 1 more time after that, but I did my hamstring. And that, why I said that I was never meant to play for England, is because at that time when I got called up, he played every player. He played every single player in his squad that time. And I just feel like I was always meant to play for Jamaica, because when I was 22, Jamaica is who I called up to say I want to play. And they turned me down. The manager turned me down when I was at Sheffield Wednesday, which I found crazy because I was playing in the Championship and the other players that he was calling up was playing League Two in my position.
Look at what you said earlier there. When at your darkest moments, the one thing you loved was playing for Jamaica. So it was always meant to be, perhaps.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the three managers you played under, please, at West Ham? I'd love to know Slaven Bilić, David Moyes, Manuel Pellegrini. The one thing you learned most from each of those three men.
Pellegrini, one thing I learned from him is no matter what you do as a footballer, it's not, your power's not in your hands. You are when you're a footballer, you are technically controlled. Your life is controlled. Normally as a footballer, if you perform well, you know you're playing the week after, no matter what you do. If you're performing, you get to play. But then I always had that slight delusion that I controlled my life. But under Pellegrini, he made you realise that you never. Like, as a footballer, you're told where to be, what time to be there, and when to be there. You can't just get up and go on holiday. Christmas Day, you don't know whether you're in or you're not in. Every holiday, there are no holidays. As a footballer, there are no holidays. You are working through every single holiday. There's no bank holidays. There's no nothing. Only time off you get is in the summer or if there's an international break. But if there's an international break and you're an international player, you're going to play.
So was Pellegrini somebody that didn't communicate or invite you to have a conversation? He would just be more dictatorial, is that?
No, like you can have a conversation with him. He'll open his door up. You can talk to him.
Yeah.
But end of the day, his decision is his decision. And under Slaven Bilić, one thing I learned from him is with my coaching, I feel like you can be too nice. So if I was ever going to be a coach, I feel like he was a bit too nice. I feel like he let certain players get away with certain things.
Like what?
Just not giving it their all in training when it was necessary, or turning up late to the training ground. I feel those are the things that people need to be really on. And when those things start to fall apart, then I feel like the team starts to fall apart because the professionalism starts to drop. As soon as you start being professional, you can't just turn professionalism on and off, and it will affect the culture. And David Moyes, I would say, I think how he managed to try and band the team together, where like take the boys away for team bonding and stuff like that, I feel that's something that I would definitely take on.
We'll wrap up soon, but I do want to talk about the legacy that David Moyes leaves behind. You know, he's a manager that's received a lot of criticism. He's also a manager that's delivered West Ham's greatest moment in the last few years. He's a manager that's been there twice. What do you think is the David Moyes legacy?
I feel like he is a legend. He's broken all the records that any manager has at West Ham. I feel like, obviously, the way his style of football, how he plays, might not be the prettiest, but he gets the job done. People will say he's the manager, he's the manager version of me as a player. So,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, why not? It's not the prettiest way of playing football, but it gets the job done. I'm not the prettiest way of playing the game, but I get the job done. So I feel like he's definitely going to be a West Ham legend. I feel like the achievement that he's done, over 1,000 games in the Premier League and winning the trophy, I think he's got the highest total record tally at the end of the season for West Ham. He's done so much for the club, so I feel like he's definitely going to be a legend.
What would you say to him personally?
I would say, just thank you for the achievements and thank you for everything you've done over the last 3/4 years that I've played under him, and I wish him well for his future.
And how did you find out that his tenure was coming to an end?
I found out the same way everyone else did, because we had the day off on Monday. So I reckon he would have probably wanted to speak to us himself, but we found out by looking at Sky Sports and saying that the club and him has parted ways.
You must have felt it though.
Yeah, definitely. It was a weird one because normally if a manager's leaving, you kind of get the opportunity for the manager to speak to you, but we didn't actually get that chance because obviously we went in. But one thing in football, nothing's certain. So you just got to keep going, keep pushing yourself, and then whatever happens, happens.
And obviously he has had a chance to speak to you all since. And what did he say?
To be honest, he pulled us and he was like, look, as much as everyone knows that I'm leaving in this season, he's like, I want us to be putting performances. I don't want to see another performance like we did against Chelsea. I want to finish this on the high and finish as high as possible in the league. And he's like, he's enjoyed every moment in training with us. He said he's had some unbelievable moments, some best moments in his life. And he said he's happy that he's done everything that he's done at this club. And he's like, he's got no anger towards the club, no anger towards the management. He's like, he's ready to move on now.
And can I ask about you then, Michail, that you spoke earlier that football was often an escape from some of the turmoil that maybe was surrounding you in your life. You are 34, you're closer to the end of your career than the beginning. What have you put in place that'll allow you to move on to the second part of your life in a healthy, constructive way?
So I've always been a person to set myself goals. I'm a person to plan ahead. So as soon as I turn 30, I set myself a goal that when I retire, I want to be able to walk into something else. I've let it know that I want to be a presenter. I want to get into presenting. So I've already been speaking to broadcasters. I've been speaking to people trying to set up my own little podcast. I've also started doing my UEFA B coaching.
Right.
Because I don't want to be left in limbo. Like I said, I need to keep myself busy. And like I feel that's something that I've always tried to do. So I do my podcast with the Football Podcast, and these things I've really started to enjoy it. So hopefully when I walk out and when I'm done in a few years, then I will straight into something that I want to do.
How many years?
I think I've got 3 more years and then I'll call it a day. I think my legs will still be going, but I feel like that will be me going, you know what, I've done enough now. It's time for the next step.
And as the man who's scored more Premier League goals than anybody else for West Ham United, as we sit here talking now, what are the odds you'll score more for them next season, do you think?
I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. One thing with football, anything can happen.
Are you ready for a new challenge?
I'm ready for a new challenge. I'm happy, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy at West Ham.
Right.
It's all down to whether the club want to try something new or the club get a good enough offer they want to let me go.
Love it. Right, time for some quickfire questions to wrap up. The 3 non-negotiable, most important behaviours that you have to buy into.
Oh, got some good questions, yeah?
Thanks.
Got some good questions. All right. Punctuality.
Important.
Massively important. Always should always be on time. And if you're on time, you're late in my eyes. You should be early. Hard work. Always ready to do the work. I think anyone that's lazy frustrates me. And happiness. Always try and be happy.
Brilliant.
That is the most important thing in life. I'll say better than money, family, everything. As long as you're happy, you make the people around you happy.
What's your biggest strength and your greatest weakness?
My biggest strength is being resilient. My greatest weakness is being too soft.
Oh, I'm not sure that's a weakness.
Is because I fall for so much rubbish. I get so many sob stories and I'm like, all right, go on then.
You're kind.
Yeah.
It's never a fault.
But it kills you in the long run.
That reminds me, I remember Alex Ferguson talking about, he said Ryan Giggs' greatest quality was he had a highly attuned bullshit detector in his head.
Literally, the amount of money I've lost where people have just called me up going, oh, I need this, blah, 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 this or that. And I'm like, no. I'm like, oh, go on then. So
Never again.
I still do it to this day.
What advice would you give to a teenage Michail just starting out?
I would say, don't change your course. Just do everything you did what you did. Because I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't change my life now.
Brilliant. And the final question, the one thing you want to leave ringing in people's ears, your one golden rule for a high performance life.
Happiness is key. And I say happiness is key, and try and do whatever you're doing on auto.
Brilliant. Listen, what a great conversation. Thank you ever so much.